Welcome to the Men's Health Perfect Form series. My name's James White. I'm the owner of Rourke Gyms, and over the next couple of episodes we're going to be taking you through some perfect form for different exercises, as well as a variety of stretches that you guys can do before and after these exercises. Each exercise may seem basic at first, but we're going to compile and put on top of them different exercises to make them more complex, each one with 2 or 3 points to take note of. Enjoy it. The first stretch that we're going to do today is probably the most important one if you're just generally exercising, or especially if you're weightlifting. What we're going to do is stretch your hamstrings. A lot of people just, when they think of a hamstring stretch, reach down and grab their toe. That's about as ineffective as a stretch can be. What I want you to do is find a box or anything of around this height. What you're going to do is put your foot on top of the box, so not flat and not all the way up, kind of at a 45-degree angle. You're not going to straighten your leg, but you're also not going to bend it. So you're going to find a nice, comfortable range. Next, you're going to keep your torso upright with your abs nice and tense. All you're going to do is lean in. You will feel your hamstring start to take. You'll feel like it's pulling. You're going to hold that position for 5 seconds. You're going to come back up, the strain will release, and then you're going to take it back further past that point that you were at previously. Do that for each leg, 40 seconds each leg. Your hamstrings need to be tamed, they need to be stretched. Work these out and you'll be a better athlete. The next stretch that we're going to be looking at is stretching your hips. And this is going to sound pretty strange to some of you, because most people have never even use their hips actively, so at least in an exercise. But for what we're going to be getting onto later, the hips are incredibly important. To stretch your hips, what I want you to do again is try and find a box, or you can even use your couch at home. It's about this height. What you're going to do is just put your left foot kind of at a comfortable distance from the box. You're going to prop your leg up as you would if you were trying to stretch your quad, and you're going to put your foot onto the box or couch, whatever substance you're using. Get your foot nice, and so your foot is ahead of your knee. Upright torso again, and what you're going to do is just lean forward with your torso and drive this hip towards the ground. Really, it's going to feel strange to a lot of you. It's probably the first time you would have ever stretched your hip muscle, but really concentrate. And this again, spend 30 seconds in this position before and after every workout. Next, we're going to try something that's going to feel difficult at first, but the more you do it and the better you get at it, the better your exercise and your athletic ability becomes. All we're going to do now is, if you were to go down to the bottom of your squat position, would be all the way down here. A lot of people at this stage will creep onto their toes to try and get in a seated position. What we don't want is for your heels to come off the ground. We're going to try and keep these heels all the way on the ground, push the knees out, and sit in this position. If you need to hold on to something ahead of you, that's absolutely fine, but we're going to start by building up a minute in this seated position. What this position does is opens up all the joints that normally don't get enough attention in terms of stretching. This is actually how a human being was built to sit, not in a chair. It's going to feel like your back is opening up, your knees, your ankles, everything. If you're feeling pretty good down at the bottom here, all I want you to do is just move around your ankles. Get your ankles moving in circular motions. And once you've done that, a minute you can pop up, and each day try and build that to a minute and a half, 2 minutes, until you can spend 10 minutes comfortably in this position. The next stretch we're going to be dealing with is how to mobilize and stretch your shoulders. This is especially important if you're going to be doing anything like pull-ups, bench pressing, push-ups, any bar to overhead work. We need to get your shoulders in better positions. And how we do that, first of all, is stretching them. We use these stretch bands. If your gym doesn't have one of these, you should probably be asking yourself why. These bands are brilliant for mobilizing your shoulders. What I'm going to do is, the band is just hanging like this. I'm going to put my elbow in first, hand goes inside the band, you hold the band. I get my shoulders in a good position back, and all I'm going to do is keep my elbow close to my ear and stretch out. As I stretch out, same as the hamstring stretch, I'm going to hold this for 5 seconds. I'm going to come back up, Again, put my shoulders in a good position. We only stretch from good positions and take it a little bit further. Again, this is something that you need to work on constantly every day. A lot of people who sit at desks, their shoulders are constantly sagging forward, and so we need to work on getting those shoulders back so that when you exercise, they're in the proper position. What we spoke about previously is getting your shoulders into good positions before we stretched. That good position is called an externally rotated position. How you get into this position is, and you can do this seated at your desk, wherever you're watching this, just put your hands out in front of you, dead straight with your arms. What you're going to do is put your hands to the top with your palms facing the ceiling. When you're in this position, put your shoulders back, and from that position, you can relax your arms. You can see immediately that my posture has improved. A lot of you, if you were in this position and I told you to relax, your shoulders would immediately slump forward, and that's because so many of us spend a lot of time at either driving a lot or at computers or at desks. The best example to illustrate why this position is so important is if I'm going to do a pull-up on the bar. What you're going to do is if you just jumped up and grabbed the bar, you can see that my shoulders are not supported by anything. The only thing that is supporting my shoulders here are my shoulder sockets. That's because I jumped up from an internally rotated position, which is a bad position. If I just do that simple movement that we discussed and I jump up onto the bar, you can see how suddenly my head sits nice and forward and my shoulder joints are now supported by my lats, my triceps, and the muscles around my shoulders. This movement must be practiced before every time you bench press, push up, pull up, push any bar overhead. That's because with these movements, you're usually going from an internally rotated position, if it's wrong, to externally rotated. When that bar on a push-up ends up above your head, your shoulder joints are usually externally rotated. What we want to do is start off in that externally rotated position and end up in a good position. Make a better decision about your shoulders. Don't just take a bad position just because the weight might feel easier.